Hi, everyone.
Hello.
Another,
Hello.
Hi, Nona.
How are you feeling?
I'm good. A little hot.
Oh, I bet you picked an uncomfortable time.
Not a good time to be 8 months pregnant, but
Oh, geez.
still. Congratulations on your I Love PS sign. That looks really great.
Thank you. I'm so happy it's finally done and there and so well received. So that's great.
People are really excited. Good. Hi, Jeffrey. Hi, Ron. Hi, Marcus.
Howdy.
Good. So we'll just wait for the mayor and any other participants. We'll wait 5 minutes or so. Make sure everyone's on. Hi, Mayor.
good afternoon.
Thought we just wait a few minutes, make sure everyone's on before we get started.
My city computer decided to do all its updates, so it took like 10 minutes. So I'm glad I started early.
So we have about 20 participants so far. I'm sure people will join us and join as they go, but are we all ready to get started?
Yeah, you want to take the lead?
Sure, I'm just pulling up my agenda. Sure, so we will call to order our Business Retention Economic Development quarterly meeting for the City of Palm Springs. The first item is public comment. Do we have any public comments at this time? This is the first time that we're doing this on Zoom. Usually we run pretty informally where we do have a back and forth conversation about all of the items as they go. But if everyone wants to give their public comments up front, and then we'll see what we have time to do as we approach each agenda item. So are there any public comments?
Mayor Pro Tem, we did receive email public comment from Jace Grimm recommending the city pursue food system as part of an economic development strategy. And this will be available with the minutes, and I forwarded this message to the two liaisons.
Thank you, Jace. I received your email and read it in depth. Thank you for those comments. Other public comments? You can just jump in since I don't see anyone raising their hands. Seeing none, we'll go ahead to the next item, which is COVID response activity updates. Is there a staff report?
These are just essentially the updates that we've been giving through a number of the other meetings we've had. I don't know if everyone has been following the state's new system for COVID, the purple, red, orange, and yellow scales representing different cases per 100,000 and the numbers of positive of individuals testing positive. This is essentially the new system the state will be using to regulate counties' movement into and out of categories. There is a mandatory 21-day period that a county must remain in one category before moving on to the next. And if a county fails to meet its metric for 2 consecutive weeks, it could revert to a lower level category. So this is came out last week and is part of the new system the state will be utilizing for opening and closing businesses. Another item is that the County of Riverside has announced that it will be providing round 3 of their grants for COVID assistance. And this will begin September 16th in the morning. So when this round is opened up, those who were not able to take advantage of the previous rounds, the 1 and 2 of the county grants, they may take advantage of this new round. Now, it hasn't been confirmed, but it had been mentioned that this round may also allow those who've received PPP loans to also apply for in this new round. So as you're thinking about resources or your businesses, your business members are thinking about resources to use for building out the open space, this may be a good resource for that. And furthermore, another item we've talked about quite a bit is the Business Ambassador Program, where the county will have individuals go out to your businesses to help develop a plan for re-entering and operating in a safe manner. I will post the link to request Business Ambassador assistance. It's at no cost from the county. They'll provide a toolkit and will provide an individualized assessment for businesses to run safely. They can also meet via email, phone, or virtual, so they've got some flexibility there. For nonprofit organizations, Inland Empire COVID-19 Resilience Fund is still available. I will put those links into the chat also. And as we've just launched our outdoor dining, which I understand has been running pretty smooth, I'm going to go on and put the outdoor dining guidelines in the chat box also for anyone who's interested. So those are basically the updates. And again, these are items that have been talked about with many of the members currently on here, but Mayor, I see your hand, and
Sure.
feel free to make additional comments, as with anybody else.
Yeah, just two comments. One, I just want to jump on the county sort of coming out and visiting, and we had the county on our reopening task force on our last meeting a couple of weeks ago. It's a really good thing to do, especially since you can do it by Zoom or phone, because you get certified by the county. And I think it'd be really helpful for Palm Springs if we could figure a way to encourage as many businesses as possible to do it, and then we could promote that, online and other places, that this is, a safe place for people to go out and shop and eat, because everyone's been certified by the county. So, maybe Nona, we can get something sent out encouraging people to do it, not just that it's available. And they will get, I don't know, it looks like something for the store window. They can have it on their website. So, and I think it'd be really helpful then to share it with our Bureau of Tourism and push it out. Main Street and the other organizations, David, encouraging people to do it. And maybe, Jay, we can come up with a sample email to send to everyone to encourage people to get certified, because it is an easy thing, and they'll get, and it's something we can then promote and they can promote.
Is that finalized, the certification?
When we had our last meeting, which was 2 to 3 weeks ago, they said they'd have the whatever the thing you could put in your window within a week, but they're already doing the certifications.
I had the business ambassador people a couple weeks ago, and they said it wasn't ready yet, but if it is, that would be great.
Yeah, the last call we had with the head of economic development for the county said it was up and running. And that was a couple weeks ago, so it's probably right around the same time.
Okay.
But
And-
Jay, if you can check, and then, let's easy link in a way to just encourage people and let them know we'll be promoting the businesses, we'll be highlighting it on our website, and Visit Palm Springs as a way to encourage folks to do that.
Yes, I know Jeffrey had pointed out initially it was for residents, but I went back and checked like a day later, and they had included a link for businesses also to take that
Okay.
advantage. So,
Great.
And we'll.
I have another question too. On the grant program, the third one that's coming out, what did they ask for in the first two? As in the application?
Oh, application wise, I can't really speak to that. I don't know if anyone else had gone through that.
If I may, Jay?
Yes, please.
It was a fairly straightforward application process. It asked about your financials. It asked about the business. It was not a difficult application for people to complete. I think most people were like 30 minutes. It was just getting, your business license and all the paperwork in order. It wasn't really a difficult one. The nice thing about this third round is, as Jay said, is it's presuming that it's going to be, if you obtain PPP up to, I think it's $70,000, you can take advantage of it. You can still take advantage of it if you had idle, but it's the PPP that threw people out.
Yeah.
It was really basic, Jeffrey.
What's that?
I had looked at it and it was really basic.
Okay.
So it was a simple application. I worked it through with a couple of our members. Jay, you're talking about the resilience from the nonprofit. Is there a new one, or you talking about the one that ended August 31st?
I had checked the Inland Empire website, and they had a resilience grant through November.
Okay.
So
That was-
I'll double check that though and let everyone know. But that's what I saw on their website earlier today.
Yeah, that was a different one than when I was thinking of, that I know that some of the chambers took advantage of or applied for, that they just started funding last week or week before. But you are correct. Excuse me. There is a second one that goes a little longer.
Okay.
Thank you.
Other questions or comments on this item?
Just for folks who don't know, I think it's probably now on our website, just the updated numbers from the county. The county needs to get 8% or less in weekly positivity tests. The numbers are heading in the right direction. Without the Coachella Valley, the county probably would be there. So we are now, unfortunately, worse, but we are better. We're now, the last week is 12%, and we were at 15%. And hospitalizations are down a little bit, and ICU's down a little bit as well. So the numbers are going in the right direction. Over 20% of Coachella Valley residents have been tested. 14% of those tested have been positive, but they're looking at the weekly rate. So if you haven't been tested, I know a lot of people stopped testing because it was taking 2 weeks to get the results. But if the only people who are testing, they went up a lot for a while because the only people who are testing were people with symptoms. And that really skewered our positivity rate, which is keeping us in the purple category. But the numbers are at least moving in the right direction.
Questions or comments?
Do they count people who have it's by how many tests, not by people?
I've read different things that but I think if you've tested, they're not supposed to count you twice, but I think if it's over enough time, they do. So let me ask the county where that is and we can send that out again. But when it was taking 2 weeks, people just felt, if they didn't have, it didn't make sense to get tested, and
Did they close?
backlog cleared up.
Did they also close Cathedral City Library?
They did. They said that they did it because of decreased demand. So they said that, it had been really full and then it really went down and not a lot of people were utilizing that location. They said that they were going to move to a mobile type of location. So in Cathedral City and in the Western Coachella Valley, they would still meet the demand that they have. It's just that they're going to do it in a different way. That was a week or two ago that we heard that update. I haven't heard how that's going and if they've actually implemented the mobile site, but I know a lot of people I know were using that Cathedral City site, and that's the easiest for Palm Springs residents. So that's definitely an issue that we raised with the supervisor in his call.
Yeah, it was also very quick and you could have an appointment easily.
Yeah. Other questions or comments? Any comments about, we can't quite deliberate, but about the downtown street closure or other kind of COVID updates that we should hear that we can consider for a future meeting from any of our stakeholders or businesses?
Less warm weather and less smoky.
Less smoke, please.
Would be good in the future.
I would like to request opportunities for retail to go outside. I know I brought that up before, but
We talked about that at council, that we were good with that. So Jay, do you know anything why that's not happening or what the status on that is? Or Marcus? I see Marcus now. I had to move my thing.
I recall council didn't yet suggest that retail could expand outdoors, that we would continue to evaluate outdoor dining. We'll give it some more thought and discussion perhaps on Thursday or at a future meeting.
Okay, I thought we said we were good with it, but to work with the sort of the retail to figure out how, but we can talk more about it at a appropriate meeting.
Okay.
Well then, if I could just, I'm sorry I have one more quick thing, because I mentioned to Marcus that I think he was going to bring up, was the sign permit that's away from your building was raised last year from, if it's not adjacent to your building for retail, it's up to $410. Whether that could be waived it used to be 75, and then whether that could be waived during this period. Some other retailers have asked.
Yeah, thank you.
Isn't
Marcus?
that coming to council, Marcus? Isn't that what we agreed?
Yeah, I thought there was something on the agenda about it. Let me look.
Are there other questions in the meantime? And I'm having a hard time seeing everyone because I have multiple screens. So
Yeah.
feel free to jump in and we just won't talk over each other.
Hi, guys. It's Dean over at Black Book in the Arenas District. It's good to see you all again. It's kind of a new business thing due to COVID, but do you think we can see if the city council can look at getting delivery service company fees capped like they're doing in LA and San Francisco? Because they're capping them like at 15% and 5% other fee through COVID. Is that something that you guys can look at?
Yeah, I would say we can work with the city attorney on something like that and bring it to council for their consideration.
Yeah, Jay, if we can bring it to obviously, we can't, Thursday, the following meeting on I think the 24th.
Okay.
That would be great. And Chrissy and I can be the liaisons tied to this to work with you and Jeff on it. It was a great idea. So,
Thank
yeah.
you, Dean.
Thank you, guys.
Other ideas, suggestions, comments?
I did have a question on some of the outdoor, the new things with the temporary permits that you guys just gave us, since we had no idea of what was on those rules until we got our permits. We didn't have any advance notice. Everybody is really having a difficult time bringing every single thing inside. You know, you guys want it to look nice and you want us to do a nice job, but everything can't be necessarily picked up and moved inside. And you know, we can't have folding chairs, we can't have things that are actually portable, but you won't let anything be on the street. Is there any way to figure something else out in that so that we don't have to spend 3 hours setting up every day and 3 hours closing down every night and basically wasting all the money on labor that we made in profits?
Yes, we will look at that.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we want to make it easy. So if we can figure something out with that, that would be great.
Okay, that would be awesome because it's not easy for sure.
Yeah.
Question, if I may, for the Mayor Pro Tem or whomever, that I was down there on Sunday. I saw a few of you as I was walking around. I was very pleased with everything I saw, and everyone seemed to be following the rules. Everyone had masks, all the servers, the people in general. The one thing I think is going to be a challenge is the rule, if I believe it's still in place, of that the patrons need to put the mask on when the server comes up, because some of those servers are like little ninjas. They kind of come up from behind, and you know, so they can't put the mask on fast enough. So that's a little challenge, but it's something I think people could kind of maybe even look aside. But I was very pleased with all of the restaurants, all of the businesses down there following all the rules, distancing, tables, everything. So I think we should all be proud of that. Is there, and maybe I've missed a meeting because who knows what meetings we're on this week, is downtown, is either Main Street or someone looking at trying to get some grouping on wraps for the K-rails? I know we couldn't paint them necessarily because they're not the city's, but they seem white. They don't look as attractive as maybe in front of whomever putting their logo and a wrap on it, that, you know, through whoever. Has there been thought on that?
Yeah, and actually we can paint them. I think it's just like a $15 fee or something when we return them for them to repaint them white for us. But there were concerns I heard at one of the meetings of cities who have had them painted that they looked even worse. So, but coming up with a creative thing, maybe that's something we could, Jay, send to the Art Commission. Because look, we're likely gonna have this through season. And I agree, that would be my one comment as well, is it's not Palm Springs attractive. I'm sure glad we didn't end up with them going down both sides of Palm Canyon the whole way, as one of the plans was, because they are not attractive. So if we can figure something out, maybe the Art Commission has some ideas. And Marcus, if I remember, it was like 25 bucks or 15 bucks, right? If we return them and they need to repaint them white. So
Yeah, so we've already rented them with the surcharge, so they can.
okay, there we go. But let's see if we can have the Art Commission like work on it, so it could be really cool and do something really positive.
Also, along those lines, the entrance, I don't know, I've only seen Taquats, I haven't seen the other end, but where it just sort of says road closed, it doesn't, and if it said something like businesses still open or outdoor dining or something that didn't make it sound like you weren't supposed to go in,
It's a good idea.
it might be
Yeah.
better. I
Yeah.
mean,
Actually, something really nice, like positive. not just-
Welcome.
Right,
Like
welcome to,
welcome.
you know, Palm Springs, you know, dining and retail garden or something.
yeah, because it looks like now you're not supposed to go there.
I think for a first week effort, though,
Oh, yeah.
it's been great. It's been
Yes.
great, and it can only get better.
Yeah, all brainstorming, but I think that's a great idea.
And
That's
Chris,
what's
is
nice
that,
about doing it now before season starts. We can work out these kind of things. So when the weather's nice, hopefully soon, in October, you know, it'll all be where we want it to be. So, and as these ideas come up, you know, email Christy and me, email Jay and Marcus. You know, if you think of something after you hear something, you have an idea, you don't have to wait for meetings. We all want to be, you know, this is a trial to figure out how we can do this. So all these ideas are great.
Did you have something, Nona?
You're muted. There you go.
yeah, I was just gonna say that the visitors that have come in had that exact same comment. They thought it was a great idea and they loved it. They were just a little confused. They weren't sure when they were going in if the street was open because it sort of looked like it was funneled. And so my suggestion was going to be the same, that we put some really great signage that says we're open or something cute just to draw people to it. But every call that I've gotten today, they've all been positive. So it's a really good thing, even with the weather.
Great. Thank you.
Anyone else? Hand claps. Good work, everyone. Thank you for working together on this. I know it's not easy to change so dramatically, but I think hopefully it'll really help all of our businesses in our downtown. So the next item is hotel incentive
I
program.
think there's one person.
Christy,
Yeah.
can I just say, I drove down this morning downtown, and when they do that split left and right, I think the friendly signage should be well before that, because when you take that left and right, you don't know you're going to come back there to walk or anything. I think it has to be if people are driving and they go off to park somewhere, then you have to know that that's a welcoming spot. You can't just put it right at the barrier. It's got to be a little before that as well for the vehicle traffic. Would be a good thing.
And Christy, if I could tag on, I think this is a great project and it's getting a lot of excitement. But I did want to ask another question of, is there anything that can be done? And I know it's been said that they can have outside tables, but a lot of times there isn't room for it. But to market the people also outside the downtown area. I have been getting some feedback, and I encourage them to come on tonight, but I don't see many faces that I know. But we do need to also balance the downtown project, which is brilliant and it's going great. And it's not to detract from that, but I want to see how we can expand it also more, if this fits in this conversation. Or to think about.
Yeah, thank you for that comment. I heard that too on social media. I saw people, cared about fairness and, who's in that area and the ability to expand and the ability to focus on other business corridors too. So Jay or Marcus, I know the council considered that, and that's why we talked about parklets and expansion and other options. Could you address that, please?
Thank you.
Yeah, I believe the direction from the council was to start slow and give it a go with the parklets, the way we set it up in terms of time frame, and that we'd be expanding out from there. So if things run smooth for a few weeks, I think that's the indicator that it's time to expand it out and see how well it can do with other parts of the city.
That's a great incentive there. Thank you.
And I'd ask, I've heard from other businesses or people involved, and they're not quite sure what the rules are, and assuming maybe it's just for downtown businesses and not knowing about the parklet option. So if you're hearing those concerns or complaints, if you can send them to me or Jeff or city staff, so that we can get them all of the possibilities, and then we can also work with them to see what we need to support businesses everywhere throughout the city. That's really helpful for us too.
Thank you.
And actually, I know we've sent it out, but if we can send out, Jay, to all the, business organizations, all the ones represented on the task force, what people can do throughout the city, because everyone could, expand. And if they're in a, shopping area that's a private parking lot, they need permission. If it's a city parking lot, we'll work with them. But we, I think the media is focused on these two blocks, understandably, so we may need to just get the word out more broadly to the other businesses. This is available to them as far as using the parking spots and the other pieces of it.
Great.
Okay.
So Marcus, in terms of this welcoming signage, is that something you can kind of take back and work on?
Yeah, I think it'd be great to be able to do a new banner at Alejo. So we can work on perhaps the messaging for that banner with the appropriate people and put it up at Alejo. I think that would be far enough ahead of this whole area. But also the messaging, we'll reach out as far as we can with all of the outdoor dining and other regulations that we have on our website to get the word out, to hopefully people understand it's available throughout the whole city.
And for the road closed sign, is there fun signage we can do there too?
There at Tockwitz.
Right.
Yeah, that's why someone had mentioned to me earlier today about doing maybe a banner at Alejo, our overhead banner, to emphasize the fact that we have the outdoor dining south of Alejo, and then, you know, the area where we're closed south of Talkwood. So we'll look at all of that area to see how we can improve the signage for all of that activity that's happening there.
Great, thank you.
Just one more quick thing. If that area becomes permanent or whatever it is, whether there was an option to put anything in front of the care, if you don't paint them, planters or something, so it doesn't look so, it looks like, so it doesn't look like a work zone, basically.
Mm-hmm. Great, thank you. And if you have other comments about what that signage should look like or where it should be, feel free to put it in the chat or email it to us during or after this meeting. Let's move to the next item, which is the hotel incentive program. Staff report, please.
Yes. Mayor Pro Tem, I just wanted to let you know that we actually do have an application for the Phase 2 renovation program that you approved last year. And I believe we do have the applicants on this call also, if you have any specific questions for them. But I'm just going to do a quick rundown on the project that they have proposed, and let you all take a look at that. So this is the Santiago Resort, which is located at 650 East San Lorenzo Road. And you can see by the red dot where it's generally located in the city. This project, some of the work has already been started, and as you can see, it makes
Jay, have you shared a screen? Because I don't see it.
Oh, okay.
Me neither,
Thank you.
thanks, Jeff.
Okay.
Letting me
I
know.
thought it was me for a while, but then I thought no.
Let's go on and hit share screen.
There we go.
Does everybody see that?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
I was thinking it was running so smooth. All right, Santiago Hotel Resort, and at East San Lorenzo, and generally where this in the vicinity of where this red dot is, a 24-unit boutique hotel, and the project will consist of bathroom renovations, furniture replacement, window replacement, door replacement, landscaping and grounds improvements, linen replacement, water dispensers, and an EV charging station. The estimated cost of the project is about $685,000. Here's some examples of the before and after, since some of the work has begun. Work for the interiors are going to look like this. And as I mentioned, bathroom renovations will also be included as part of the project. So as you can see, investment is continuing despite the pandemic, and I think the gentlemen who have submitted this application have some vision and may hopefully be a model for additional investment in the city as we progress with emerging from the pandemic. Let me go on and take it out of screen share.
And Jay, if you could give a background about this program for people who might be newly joining us, please.
Yes, absolutely, Mayor Pro Tem. In the early teens, the city established a hotel incentive program where this is the program where we share the TOT with those who want to do renovations and improvements to hotels. And it actually emerged to a larger program where we had assisted new hotels and resort and convention hotels with their with being constructed and being established. But the bulk of the program are smaller boutique hotels that are existing or renovated, and that was a program that just last year we brought back through the business retention liaisons as a subcommittee and established that for moving forward. And fortunately, Santiago Resort Hotel caught wind of it and wanted to move forward by taking advantage of the project.
And just for folks who aren't aware, I mean, you know, there was one in place before, but only large hotels putting $1 million, I think, of investment were able to participate. And Mayor Pro Tem and I really wanted to create a program that any size hotel could participate and benefit from. And, you know, the TOT incentive is half of the increase on what they were making before the renovation. So the goal is they're putting their own money in, there's no city money. And then if they can charge more for their rooms, the extra above what they were paying before gets split 50-50 with the city. And they can't get any more back than what they've invested over a 10-year period. So it's a great way for hotels to invest in themselves and helps both the city and the hotel is the goal of it. So it's really nice to see this getting started, especially given the circumstances, and seeing a hotel take advantage of that opportunity. And it looks great. So
I agree.
And I don't know if anyone has questions for the applicants at all, or if they want to make a statement.
Sure, I'd love to say something. I'm James Hansen, and I'm one of the owners of Santiago. And we were really excited when the council put this plan forward and chose to kind of make this investment in smaller hotels. It's a very controlled program. We think it's a great way to incentivize businesses. You know, obviously we've all had this kind of gut punch in the last few months, but at Santiago, we're kind of focused on what happens after we get through this COVID situation, and we're excited to kind of make improvements and think about life post COVID and a return to a good business. We're excited about being part of this program, and just want to thank the council for setting it up and setting this process up in place for small businesses.
Thank you. Thank you for being here and for applying. So Jay, what do you need from us? This is an update.
This was just an FYI, Mayor Pro Tem, just to let you know that you'll be seeing this on the full council agenda in the near future, most likely on the 24th of September. So heads up.
Great. Thank you so much. It's really exciting to institute these programs and try to help local small businesses in our city and see it being utilized. So thank you all for your work on this.
And we thank James and his partner for willing to be the guinea pigs.
Thank you. So if there's nothing else on this item, the next item is rainbow sidewalks.
So I asked for this to come on. I know Mayor Pro Tem, you had worked on this previously, so you may have some information. At the request of the hamburger sitting on the screen, Rob Bongo Johnny's asked if we could discuss it with Pride coming up. I see Ron's on as well. So Rob, is that you on there? Or do we just, there you go.
Yeah, that's me.
Just, you had some thoughts on this. So do you want to sort of share them, and then we could sort of see what the next steps would be to move something forward?
Well, I was interested in painting the crosswalk over between Hyatt and Bongo Johnny's, and I would just pay for it.
So Marcus, how would something like that work in that kind of situation?
Well, it raises interesting questions because we don't really have a policy allowing businesses to paint on the street. We discuss policy implications with the council on setting standards. I mean, mechanically, it's an encroachment permit that we would issue to have the work done. But, you know, we certainly are interested and want to move forward with some type of project like this. I have wanted to for a while. So I guess I'm interested to hear from the liaisons on any concerns they might have or on how we could implement this request.
And just as an update, we've heard and talked about rainbow sidewalks for a long time. We are essentially waiting for the conversion of Indian to be able to move forward with it, because initially we had all been talking about Arenas being the site for that location, and there were a lot of ideas, but we never settled on anything, and really we had to wait for the conversion. So I guess that's where we're at. And then now we can do it. So I guess my question would be, are we thinking permanent, or is it more temporary installations? Like, what would that look like? Because I do think, you know, the more art and excitement we can get in our downtown, the more it will draw people, the more we look open and not like a construction zone, and that it's a fun pedestrian, you know, experience, I think is great too. So I'm interested in those ideas and how to be really flexible here. I would just want to know, is it a permanent installation, or what could that look like? What are our options? We had sent this to the Arts Commission, right, as well. Is there an update about where the Arts Commission is on these types of ideas?
Well, I would note, if I could just raise the issue that, you know, the Arts Commission certainly had an interest in the one that we were talking about over on Arenas. With this, now I understand that Bongo Johnny's wants to pay for it, and that's great. That's certainly helpful. But I think one thing that council may want to weigh in on, that if we do this, then what if, you know, other businesses want to do others, and what is that art going to, or mural art on the sidewalk in the crosswalk going to be, and who's approving these? And so I think it might behoove us to get a policy in front of council that the whole council can approve, and then we can go forward. Just because I worry about, then what if we get other requests, lots of requests, and what if the signage that's going to be on the crosswalk isn't something that people feel is appropriate? You know, who's going to be the arbiter of that?
Since we're having the Arts Commission review the K-rail design and other art that might be, you know, for businesses during this time to help make their businesses more attractive outside, is that something you think that they could take a holistic approach to and see what other types of temporary or permanent art features or installations might work?
I mean, they certainly could recommend to council what the policy should be. Now, you know, obviously in this one, and Marcus, what was the cost that we were looking at for Arenas? And so just to give Bongo Johnny's an idea of what this cost is.
You know, I don't recall offhand. I think we were, I'd have to go back and look, but it depends on the material type. If it's a real temporary, like Home Depot paint, it's not as expensive, but it won't last. But if it was going to be the thermoplastic, long-lasting paint, it's pretty expensive. It could be 25 grand, depending on the extent of the, you know, if you're just doing one leg, or if you're doing all four legs, it's going to drive up the cost.
I raised the issue of permanent or temporary just because I followed Palm Desert painting their El Paseo and sort of some of what's happened there. And I think they actually went forward and then they stopped that program, right, because of how it looked with traffic. So it just depends, I think, you know, what's our plan? Is it for Pride or is it for longer? You know, what would we need to upkeep it? Those sorts of issues. I saw Jeffrey.
I did want to mention, sort of in relation to what Rob was saying, the Arts Commission does have a CARES grant program for businesses to get 500, I don't know how much money, $500 to $1,000 if you want them to do art around your business. And you either can recommend an artist or they have a gallery of them. But also, we actually did ask about painting our sidewalk, and I think that is not allowed. We wanted to do a hopscotch board in front of our store. But if that could be changed, we would like to do that.
I guess I'm hearing that the subcommittee liaisons would be in favor of it. So I think, our options are to get a policy in front of council. It could go to the Arts Commission first. Again, it could be, the Arts Commission, they do have a small grant program. If is it Sam? Is Sam the one we're working with? Is it Sam?
Who?
From Bongo Johnny's? I'm sorry, I forget.
Rob.
Okay, thank you. So Rob, if you're willing to pay for it, obviously that makes it easier. If you want the Arts Commission to do it through their grant program, that's another option. But I guess the question is, the council as a whole okay with this? And I think that's something that's going to have to go before the full council. So if it goes to the Arts Commission, it's going to take a little longer. We could do this just as a single unitary one and get it before council and see if they're okay with it. And then obviously a policy would follow.
That makes sense.
Yeah, that sounds good to me.
So is the subcommittee okay? We just would take that to council as an idea or for that specific site?
I think overall as an idea, because I'm interested in the things we can do to help businesses make their businesses more attractive and fun and all that during this time, especially for our streets that we're working on. So I would like a general policy that we can then work with the Arts Commission on.
I agree. We've heard another idea, Jeffrey's for doing something in front of Destination PSP. And so, something that's temporary that, should be easier to do, but we should come up with a policy for that, and something that's not temporary, which I think the latter, we definitely want the Arts Commission to weigh on for anything that's permanent first.
Okay.
But I think we can be more flexible on something temporary given our current situation, I hope.
What is temporary? What's the definition of temporary?
Less than forever.
Okay.
Yeah, well,
then it's temporary.
So
there is actually, because chalk you can do, but chalk won't last for more than 2 days. But if it's paint, removable paint, that was still not allowed.
Well, Rob, let me ask you this. What if, it's an interesting point that's raised. Let's just say we did it sort of in chalk, the chalk art, and you could we do that. And then, if council doesn't like that, ultimately that can just be power washed off. If council likes it, then maybe that, as part of the policy, that could be a more of a permanent or temporary thing in paint. But again, that's up to you.
Yeah, I would keep it up for as long as I could afford it. So I would like something, I was thinking more long-term than short-term, but both are not defined. So I'm open to either.
Well, Marcus, just to sort of, but conceptually, any paint is going to be temporary, what, a month or 2, 3 months, unless it's a thermoplastic?
Yeah, over time, just, scuff marks and oil and dirt just will affect it. So, it could last longer than that, but regular paint will, over time, start to diminish. I think David had his hand up.
Yeah, I just think that, and I think it's a fine idea. I think that unless there is a policy, and I keep thinking of, because we're reviewing the general plan and I'm on that subcommittee too, but this could be a slippery slope if you start doing the, one-offs and allow this, and then, and then Jeffrey does in front of his store. And then what if someone wants to put a Black Lives Matter crosswalk down on Talkwitz, and then we want to do something up at Racket Club? All these are great ideas, but I think that if we're going to get into a slippery slope of inconsistency around there, then we're going to have the same thing like we do with some of the outside art and murals on some of the buildings downtown when people would do it. And then what about maintenance, and how does it look, and how does it meet the guidelines? So I think it might be something that can go, if it could be expedited the best as possible, to get some kind of a policy through the Arts Commission, or even an informal discussion, and then be able to go back to council with it. It's a fine idea, or maybe it's not this year, it's not the crosswalk, but maybe it could be the sidewalk in front of the corner of Amato and Palm Canyon or something like that, just to kind of get through Pride and all. But I just think it'd behoove the city to get a consistent process.
I think it's a super great idea, but I'm just wondering if we're not going to run into the same problem that we ran into with all the other signs where it becomes a freedom of speech issue. And then what if somebody wants to put something that is not as kind and supportive as those things up?
Yeah, that will be a concern.
How do the other big cities do it?
Yeah, I think that we can learn from cities across the country that have been putting the crosswalks in for some time now.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure what the legal ground is. That I haven't heard of any city having a challenge with the crosswalks. But I did look after the council had a subcommittee appointed in 2018. Don was able to provide some pricing, and at that time it was estimated at $20,000 for paint for 4 crossing sections, and that thermoplastic, the thermoplastic paint was going to be 5 times that cost, was the estimate at the time to do the crosswalks that were being discussed for arenas.
And I also think the other cities are look at it, you know, San Diego and others look at it more in their LGBT, you know, gay neighborhood hub versus other places. I'm not saying that this isn't a great place to put it, but again, what if we wanted to do one up on Racket Club, and what if they wanted to be doing one down at Smoke Tree? So I think the other cities have a very specific plan within their hub.
Well, I think the best place to put it would be on arenas. But, you know, I had that conversation along with Ron. I know he had it too for 2 years. And so now I've moved off arenas. So I'm like, well, I'll just pay for it and put it by my business there. If that would help.
We haven't moved off of arenas. We hear you. So we are waiting for the construction to be done. And then we had COVID. So I think
I moved off. I moved off.
We haven't moved on, but I do think that these are great ideas about how can we be flexible. A lot of cities are primarily doing city projects, but I don't know of any businesses that they're sort of allowing or installations or sidewalk paint or things like that during this time. But if you have those models, please send them to us. And then we can review them. And I do think it should come to council as, you know, what are the ways that we can make it, you know, fun and exciting to go to our businesses, since it's hard to attract people during this time.
Well, I would have a suggestion, Rob. So if you were okay back on the arenas, it seemed to me council was in agreement to do that on arenas, because it made sense that the rainbow flag there, the rainbow crosswalk there. So now that the street is done, it sort of would stall just on a budgetary item. But that being said, if you wanted to put some dollars into it, or the Arts Commission did, we could get that in front of the Arts Commission. And I think we could probably move forward there quickly. And we wouldn't necessarily need a formal policy, because my belief is council has sort of given us direction that they would be okay with that. Now, Mayor Pro Tem, if you feel differently, you know, please let me know.
No, I think that makes sense. But I think while we're doing that, let's have a council discussion on other ideas and what we can do to be flexible. You know, what temporary would mean, you know, what kind of easy approval process. Obviously, we don't want it to look cluttered and junky too. So we need some process working with the Arts Commission to do it broader, but I think we should be flexible on it. So I would bring that to council, that bigger part to council.
Okay, understood.
Dean?
Trying to unmute there. I figured I should just chime in a little bit since we are the Arenas District. We worked with the Arts Commission on beautification stuff, and right now we've just been taking a break because our entire district's been pretty hit hard with the COVID stuff, being that 6 of our businesses really can't be open and operating like they normally would. They're not restaurants, they're bars. So it's made it more difficult for the district. That being said, the district has been actively looking at beautifying things, but we looked hard at sidewalks and crosswalks, and just some of our 2 cents would be, we struggled with the idea of the crosswalks maintaining their integrity over time, especially with the heat and the dark, and the dark stuff from the tires and the cars and stuff. I don't believe, and this is my personal opinion, that anybody would have a problem with a rainbow being anywhere else in the city. I think we would like to do stuff in our neck of the woods, but I don't think there would be a pushback saying don't do it on Palm Canyon. I think there would be kind of an embracing of doing something else like that as well. So I just wanted to throw that in there since we've been actually working on this for the last 2 years.
Thank you.
No problem.
We're not limited to one rainbow in the city or anything else. Any other comments on this? Bill?
Well, I just wanted to just throw the suggestion in the ring for another option of a crosswalk. Since we have the crosswalks that are lit when you hit the button, they have an LED light. What if you had a rainbow LED light lit up when the person I know you only see it not as much in the day, but that's another option, and that's more permanent solution for at least a couple of crosswalks that we already have. You could just upgrade the lighting. I don't know if there's any road hazard to doing different color lighting with the state what you need for lighting, but I just wanted to throw that out there as a possible other option to look at. More expensive, I know, but another straw in the hat to look at.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And Bill, I've seen, I don't know who did it, if anyone else, but someone who had some of those changed to, 2 women, couple holding hands, 2 men, and a man and a woman holding hands. So sort of showing the diversity. And I've seen that for the walk and the don't walk signs. So I don't know where that was, but I've seen that at least somewhere on those internet things. I can go look, I can do a little research. But I remember we talked about it maybe 2 years ago as a cool idea as well. Because it might just be a little, something that goes over the light. And that could be a fun thing to do. So thanks for raising that.
Thank you. Other comments on this item? Okay, then we will go to agenda planning for 2020. Staff report, please. Mayor?
Well, I do have one question. One of the things in the budget, although we couldn't get all of the expense in, but we figured by the time the positions got hired, we had enough in the budget because economic development probably got hit more than any other department because we had people leaving already. So I know recruitment was going to be starting on that. I don't know if that started or if there's a timeline, but David, since you're on, maybe you could give an update on that.
Yeah, so the deputy city manager on economic development. So we had a couple candidates. We narrowed down to 1, and the subcommittee joined. In the end, we felt that the candidate wasn't strong enough for what we were looking for. So right now we still have the recruiter, and the recruiter is going to forward to us candidates that they feel are what we are looking for. Right now they don't have any. With the other positions, we're moving forward in recruiting for the housing services administrator and the central business district administrator. Now we had candidates for the central business district administrator, but given where we are, I'm not sure the candidates were what we wanted. So we're reassessing that actually at the moment. But my sense is that those are positions that the council indicated they want to go forward with. So we're trying to get those. We did have a few other positions that personnel was working on to get filled that were in the queue before that. So my hope is soon we're going to have some candidates to interview for the other positions.
Just to get,
Oh, sorry.
Just to give context, if I can, really quickly for everyone. So before the pandemic hit, we were talking and had a plan that was approved to expand our economic development department, since Jay wears many hats, and we do have, the need to focus on economic development and supporting businesses and workers, and then also, the housing and homelessness work that's also in that department. And so that was our plan, and then the crisis hit, but we did advocate really strongly and successfully, I think, protected the department from a lot of cuts and the budget cuts, because we know how important economic development is during this time. I think more important now than ever. So we did want to keep moving forward on recruiting for some of those positions. Sorry, Mayor, you wanted to add?
No, you did what I was going to do, so thank you.
And so for the purpose of this item, I know we've been talking about this for a long time, to really do planning all together with all of our stakeholders for 2020. We're in a totally different place than we were before. And then we have another agenda item next, which is other economic development suggestions. So Jay or David, what's your intent for this agenda item to get from everyone? Is it for us to pick from the list of things that we've been working on to prioritize, or to get new ideas? Sort of, what do you need from us right now?
Yeah, so COVID obviously has changed the dynamic for everyone. And the mayor was working with the stakeholders on a reentry. That committee he had, the reentry post-COVID, and what we can do during it and after. So obviously those manifested in a relaxation of the signage, the closure of Palm Canyon to help the restaurants. So the question is, what is the other universe of things we could be doing, should be doing? We've done the signage, et cetera, right now. And then it's the longer term. I'm a little concerned about the businesses that seem to have closed that may not reopen post-COVID. Is there strategies that we have there? Are there strategies for, for example, the hotel incentive? How much do we want to, in essence, put into that? Now, there's other strategies, for example, we're going to be bringing forward for the airport. We have a incentive for new destinations, new routes. So, do we want to continue that? So I guess those are the universe of questions. And then the stakeholders, as you know, you are in a better position to know what you need now and upcoming, maybe better than we do. So I think you might have some better suggestions.
Planning for 2020 is very difficult, I think. I think we're all taking it day by day. I think those are the things we want to hear from all of our stakeholders who are on the call now, of what should those items be that we should be addressing in the next, few months to year of this committee together.
Well, I'll make one. So it seems to me that for closed businesses, I can't speak to them, but for ones that are open, that the biggest issue we're having is that, there's no conventions and no conferences for a while, and the events, are all being canceled or scaled down. And so a lot of these traffic draws to downtown are sort of ended. And it would seem to me that, whether there must be other types of events that will help draw day trippers or the weekend people out, or even the locals out during the week, and things that are safe and socially distant. And I don't know, at some point, there could be, whether it's art or music or retail or other things out on the streets or in some of the public areas that would draw people out. Because I think that's going to be the biggest challenge for businesses, is that for most of us this summer, we may have done okay if we're open compared to last year, but summer's terrible. So we did just as terrible as last year. But, without Pride the way it was, or Film Festival or Modernism Week or some of these big draws, it's going to be a challenge in the season. And even this year with the conferences and conventions, every time there's one in town, it drives a lot of traffic to our businesses. So I don't know exactly what the answer is, but it's sort of creating our own type of activities downtown and in the business areas that will draw safe, socially distant traffic on a regular
Well,
basis.
if I could, Jeffrey, you raise a good point. Like, so for example, the car show that Keith McCormick has, you know, we're struggling right now, and Marcus, help me here. You know, that's in November. He's planning on going forward, and that's a big event, brings people in. But we don't know if that we could even allow that with COVID. So it's likely that that can't go forward. So we're struggling with that. You know, as a balance of allowing these events, helping businesses versus the COVID dynamic. So that's what we're really struggling with.
Yeah, no, I understand that. I mean, I think closing the street from Tacos to Bristo is an example of that type of thing. I think if that were to last, if we find that that works, whether it's expanding it or adding some public seating so people could sit down, or retail or other art, things like that is what I'm talking about. Within the guidelines that are just doing a more like that.
David, it's Doug Watson. Good evening, everyone. You know, as I listen to what I've heard this evening, the key is to get more people tested so that the percentages drop quicker. And that then opens up gates to levels of businesses being open. Yeah. And is there, and you may have this and I'm just unaware, is there an incentive plan for employers to have people who, if their employees live in Palm Springs and they are without symptom, to have them tested so that we can grow the number of people that have tested positive, since the trigger on each of these phases is the 8% level, and then the hospitalizations and critical care units. Is there a way for us to activate some of our industries to put a press on to get our people tested and increase the positivity numbers, which would then reduce the percentage of negative? Seems to me that opens up gates faster. And you may have already done that and I'm unaware.
Who would like to answer? City staff?
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly what the question was, Doug. It's, you know,
David, let me be more specific. Is there a way for us to create incentives, since we know that when we provide people incentives to take surveys and things like that, that it increases the take rate? Is there a way for us to provide incentives either through an employer or to a citizen to get tested so that the amount of positive tests grow? Let me be specific.
Yeah, you know, no, that's a good question. It's how, I suppose, you know, the availability of the tests and where the tests, you know, we're not, and then the cost, and what would that be?
What is the order of magnitude for a person to get tested? I'm unaware, so someone can help educate me. Is it $50 a person? Is it $100 a person? What's the test?
No, it's free. It's free.
They're free.
Right. There's no cost to the city. I mean, testing is provided either by the feds or state government.
Yeah. So what you're saying is give people money to go get a test. If you go get a test, we'll give you a prize, a bonus, or something.
So if you want, and I use other organizations as an example, if you want your census, or not in specifically Palm Springs, but in other communities I've lived, you want to get the census count up, you offer an Amazon gift card. And I use that as a remedial example, but it gets more people to take the census. I'm not suggesting we buy our way into positivity. I'm just suggesting that we incentivize people or employers to be able to help get their people tested. Since I'm an employee, I come to work at one of the businesses in Palm Springs, I get paid to go get my test. And somehow that's a cost neutral event for me as the employer. I'm just thinking out loud.
Bill, feel free to jump in. It's hard to see everyone on the Brady Brunch screen.
Sorry. Well, I think that's an HR can of worms you're going to open. Paying employees to go get tested as a business. That my HR department said you can't want to go down that road. So I would be all for it. But from an HR legal standpoint as a business owner, making employees go get something like that, there's HIPAA regulations, there's a whole can of worms in there you're going to open up unless it's legally done up front and given to an employer.
I get that. And your point is well taken, Bill. I guess my broader question is there a way to get more people tested, which is the gate that drives the percentages? And that would be a broad question. I'm not suggesting I have the answer. I'm just suggesting.
I mean, there was, Doug, there was a real public education effort to get people to do it before for this reason, which was successful until it was 2 weeks to get results. And, and there wasn't enough testing, and they were telling people unless they had symptoms to get tested. So it really needs to be, a broader, it would need to be countywide, because, right, when you have 100,000 or 400,000 already tested, this is something the county, and I don't know if it was discussed on the last call, but they're doing another call Friday, is really doing the outreach to encourage people to get tested.
Yeah.
And, for the businesses that are impacted, if they want to tell their employees, yes, you can come in late to work or leave early so you can get tested, because a lot of the tests were during hours that people worked, right? I mean, when they were testing from, 8 to 2, it made it really hard for people in most jobs to go testing. But if, you're going to get paid for the hour or two you need to go get your test from the business, that would be up to each business. We wouldn't require that, but that could help as well. So maybe that's something we should bring up both at the CVB meeting as well as Friday on the call with the county on that.
And Jeff, I think there's going to need to maybe even get some clarification, because then employers may feel, going back to the HIPAA discussion, that I gave you 2 hours to go off to find out, you need to tell me. So there needs to make sure that everyone is following the rules and et cetera, if that should happen.
Yeah, I think that maybe the employer thing, to each of your points, Jeff, may be complicated and filled with with issues that we may not want to be able to deal with. But how do we incentivize a household? Let me rephrase my question. If they've not been tested and they don't show symptoms, how do we to put another campaign out to encourage them to get tested?
Yeah, I agree that we should raise it with the county on our next call with the supervisor. The county is really, really focused on getting everyone tested, reopening as quickly as possible. The county has, written letters to the state saying they want to reopen quicker and how to do that. So we will raise that with the county. I do agree it's at a county level. And actually, our county has made testing more accessible than most counties in California. We criticized them at the very beginning, but in most counties, like in Sacramento, where my family lives, you can't access a test unless you have symptoms. And our county actually has put up a lot of sites and allowed people to get tested without that. So I think it's obviously in all of our interests to work on that issue. What the city can do on our own versus what we should have the county do with all of their resources and public health department. I think that's the question.
Yep.
So we will raise it with our supervisor and in the places, the calls that we're having those conversations. I think that would be a good first step.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. Other ideas and suggestions about what the city should be doing in the next 6 months to a year through this committee?
Can I say, this is Jocelyn with CVCAN. Just wondering, in terms of business closures and empty storefronts going forward, whether there's any flexibility in terms of zoning. And of course, I'm not saying there should be a pot store every block, but just in general, zoning flexibility, cannabis aside, can that sort of be on the table? And again, this is obviously relative to how severe, the vacancies look, and you've kind of been there before. So what kind of flexibility around zoning could be something, that reasonable? That's all.
You're talking about on cannabis specifically.
Well, I mean, I get that that's a tougher question, so I'm broadly throwing it out there. Certainly, that's the constituency that I'm coming from, but that aside, you know.
Council is having a discussion Thursday on the agenda about the criteria for the distance in between on Palm Canyon. So that particular issue is on the agenda actually for Thursday.
Okay.
Yeah, and waivers in general.
Well, sure. Okay. Well,
Yeah,
and
but
so
putting some
again,
criteria out so businesses can plan and know if they meet some of the broader guidelines, assuming council comes up with.
yeah. No, and I get that the whole waiver issue is aside from this committee. Is just more broadly, again, just depending on how the vacancies look after all is said and done. It's just about flexibility. I'm not just advocating on behalf of cannabis at the moment. Just trying to be helpful.
So, Jocelyn, just to be helpful, so what kind of things? Can you give an example? I'm trying to get a sense of what zoning would need to be changed or waived right now that wouldn't go through a normal CUP or other process that we already have in place.
Yeah, I'm not even sure, and that's the whole deal. Is there more as of right as opposed to CUP on every, just simpler, quicker, get it back in business kind of thing. So I'll think about it more. It's just a thought.
You know, one of the issues that we've had are empty storefronts, and I've asked about pop-ups and other types of things that, you know, that are already allowed. I even mentioned to Ron whether you can do a Pride pop-up store in one of these places. And there were issues about temporary permits and insurance and things like that. So there may be some kind of, I don't know if that's zoning or permitting or insurance, but that's what my landlord told me, that would be kind of difficult to do a pop-up store or something temporary within one of these spaces.
Yeah, I agree. We've talked about empty storefronts and programs for them for a long time on this committee, and I do think it's a priority moving into the rest of 2020. And I personally love to see pop-ups. I've driven to LA to go to pop-ups. I think it's really an opportunity for us, and especially, unfortunately, if we have more and more empty storefronts in our business corridors. So I'd love for us to take some action on that and come up with some incentives, some reduced requirements for pop-ups. You know, we've talked about art in storefronts or other types of programs that might make them visually more attractive. All those things we've talked about, I'd like to take action on.
So the Arts Commission, Mayor Pro Tem, they are going forward with a art in vacant store windows program. So they are doing that. They're doing that in the benches. So that is one thing that they actually are moving forward with.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just questioning the verbiage there. If we have money to incentivize pop-ups, don't we have money to help the people that are already in business stay in business?
Yeah, and I just meant like what Jeffrey's point was, like reduced requirements to open up a pop-up. But I do want to help all of our businesses that are existing and get you all the incentives possible from the city. I agree with you. We've just talked about a variety of different issues here. I don't think any were financially providing any financial assistance. Jeffrey, to your point earlier about what the city could do for events, do you have other, ideas there of what we could bring forward? I know, we did Uniquely Palm Springs to drive people to local businesses. We've done other types of trying to support local events. Do you have things that we should add to an agenda for our next meeting?
It seems to me that, and I recognize the issue with having any kind of crowds or things, but come a month or so, we're going to have the best weather anywhere, and people, even if people are traveling within this country, they're going to want they're not going to travel abroad. They're going to want to come here. And I think the idea of promoting, outdoor things, and whether it's, we could do art or music or other types of, a downtown farmer's market or things like that, that are safe, that are proven, that we could work out, but it creates this idea of things going on outdoors all the time in Palm Springs and safe. And I would promote that this is the safest place to be along with it. So it doesn't seem like we're attracting big crowds. And part of it is we do have space. I mean, we just have to look at whether it's other parking lots or other things, other closing down other streets that would allow it. I don't have, a lot of specific. I personally want my street closed down, but I know that's an issue. And I would like things that aren't necessarily going to a restaurant. I mean, not that I don't support that, but whether it's open seating, and if at any time you could have socially distanced seating and have, a singer or something like that, down the line. I think we should look at those things, because it could be for, another year that we're having to deal with this. And, I've seen other places, I think they've done parks with, big circles where you could have concerts or other things like that, or drive-in concerts. And I think those are the types of things that we should look at, especially if it's in the business districts.
Thank you. Other comments? Dean?
I think, I don't know if you could do a commission or something for this, but I think you kind of want to do maybe like a 1-year plan, 2-year plan, 5-year plan type thing like you do in corporate America. It seems like there's actually opportunity to be had if thought ahead and planned ahead, like what the city's going to look like post-COVID. We have, you can break it down to what has to happen now to help save businesses, but also what's the plan for the city after that? And if things that might become permanent, like closing down of streets, what that would look like and how that could be funded to make look better. And then tie that into whatever kind of events the city wants to put together, what it's going to look like. I mean, a year ago, we were talking about an arena being down here and 10,000 seats and parking issues and things like that. And we didn't have, as a city, really any control over where that was going to go and how it would affect the city. It seems like this is a great time to put together a committee to kind of figure out where that's going to go in terms of timing of events and when things happen. Gay Pride, Modernism Week, all of those things, so that when things start to lift, relationships will have been built and events will have been built for the future, where that we can hit the ground running, whereas many other cities might not. That's my 2 cents.
Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem, let me just add, we have about 10 minutes left. The Zoom meeting was set up for an hour and a half.
Thank you. I was just going to say, I think we have 9 minutes left. I've kind of combined these last 2 items here. So if anyone else, I know we're taking notes and writing these down, and then we'll have a meeting coming up where we can drill down more into specifics, but other ideas and suggestions for 2020 planning. And then Jay, do you need direction from Jeff and I in terms of the other items we've talked about? So we'll start with other comments from people on the line.
I would not need any additional direction on those. I think that it's pretty clear where we're going to follow up with the Arts Commission and maybe explore some other possibilities for bringing policy straight to council.
Great, thank you. Any other comments or suggestions? I shut everyone down with my time warning. If there are, you can always comment in the chat box here, and you can email Jeff and I anytime, or Jay and David and Marcus are all available to you.
I'll just add one thing, sort of following up on the last comments, which is, and there have been some discussions with some folks already, but really thinking about, it'll be really interesting as we see how keeping Palm Canyon closed impacts things for a couple of months, part of it, maybe more of it. Is it great? Is it a fail? Is it something we want to think about long-term, right? What kind of, we have our existing events, but what kind of different events do we want to sort of see bringing here in 2, 3, 5 years, sort of, as you were saying, Dina? There've been some conversations on that, because look, there's going to be whenever this ends, right, there's still going to be changes. More people, there's probably going to be less business travel than there was before, at least for some period of time. There's going to be, you know, at least in the near future, more leisure travel, probably domestically than foreign. So how do we take advantage of this opportunity to think about what we want to be in 5 years from now? And I think that's a really important piece I want us to, you know, keep high up on the list to talk about. And I think seeing what street closures are like in a place that does have our hot summers, but for half the year is the best weather in the country. And what that would look like and what we could do that's going to benefit not just people coming here, the businesses, but for our residents, that is going to bring them out more. What's going to make them want to come out more and enjoy living here more, right? That's all part of it. If they're happier and they're going out more, they're spending more money, of course. And so it's sort of, I think we always, I think it's important we talk about it, not just as we're helping business, although that is the focus of this, but the benefits for our residents. We sometimes don't make those connections. And, you know, it's sort of how we talk about Southwest Airlines coming. You know, it's not just for bringing people here. It's so all of us get to go to other places more easily too. And I just think it's an important thing for all of us who are focused on economic development and businesses, how important it is to talk about the benefit for our residents of all the things that result, because it helps them be invested in it and realizing this is to make this a better place to live. So, okay, that was my soapbox for the end of the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. So we'll go to council member comments, staff comments, if you have anything else.
I jumped ahead. I'm done.
Anything else from staff?
Jeffrey, I will have to email out that link to the county certificate program. I've been poking around. I can't quite find it. So
Yeah, it's hard to find if it's there.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Great. Anything else? So before we adjourn, if you do have, you don't have to wait until the meetings, like the mayor said. If you do have comments or questions, feel free to reach out to us at any time. We have scheduled these for quarterly meetings, I see. You know, if we need to meet more regularly, I'm open to doing that. So please just let us know. Thank you all for participating. Really appreciate you sharing your expertise. I know that it's a struggle out there to run your business and to, you know, all of us are struggling right now. Really appreciate you taking the time to advise us and help the city, you know, support all of you and move forward in this uncertain time. So thank you so much. So with that, we will adjourn this meeting. Thank you all.
Have a great week, everyone.
Thank you. Adios.
Bye.
Thank you.